Hello and welcome to this video on combinatorics in poker. This video may be applicable to many different types of poker, but for now, we will focus on no-limit hold'em. What we will look to cover in this video is an overview of what combinatorics is in no-limit hold'em and how we can calculate combinations for a variety of scenarios. We will also discuss the importance of combinations and some ways they can be implemented into our game. Let's start with a quick history of combinatorics just so we can get a grasp of what we are on about in this video. Combinatorics is a mathematical term used to describe the field in mathematics concerned with problems of selection, arrangement, and operation within a finite or discrete system. This may sound like pure nonsense, but when we break it down it starts to become clear. In the West, combinatorics was developed by two French mathematicians, Blaise Pascal and Pierre de Fermat. They discovered many classical combinatorial results in connection with the development of the theory of probability. This link to probability is where the connection comes into poker. For more history on combinatorics, have a look at the link referenced at the bottom of the screen that is also included in the description box. There is a lot of interesting information included there, along with some very complex mathematical problems that are way over my head. Probability plays a big part of poker. Being able to understand aspects of probability helps you better understand certain spots in poker. Having even a basic understanding of combinatorics will also go a long way to improving your poker baseline. Specifically for poker, combinatorics is used to calculate specific combinations of hands from what known information there is, a bit more on this later. When we know what combinations are available, it can sway the probability of a game and dictate our actions, helping us make better decisions on the felt. Combinatorics can be used to help determine the strength of an opponent's range, shifting the weight depending on how wide or narrow they play. A simple example of this is if they play wide range, they will have more combinations of air in their range. If they play a tighter narrow range, then there are more strong hands in their range. Combinatorics can also be used to help determine if we should bluff catch or go for value in certain spots. This is related to blockers and what combinations of hands block or unblock the opponent's possibilities. We now have a rough idea of some aspects of combinations. Now we can discuss how combinations are distributed in poker. I will include the maths behind combinations in poker at the end, but for now I will just tell you what combinations relate to each hand type. We can categorize our hands into three specific types. The first type is suited hands, such as ace of hearts, king of hearts, and four of spades, nine of spades. The second type is pocket pairs, such as ace of hearts, ace of spades, or 10 of clubs, 10 of diamonds. The third and final category is offsuit hands, such as ace of hearts, king of spades, and 7 of diamonds, 2 of clubs. Let's now visualize what these combinations look like. Let's say we are dealt ace-king suited, one of the strongest starting hands in poker. Here are what all the combinations are available of this hand look like. As we can see, there are only 4 different combinations of ace-king suited that we can possibly be dealt whilst playing no-limit hold'em. Moving on to all the possible combinations of a specific pocket pair. In this example we are looking at all the different combinations for aces. As we can see, there are 6 unique combinations that we can be dealt. We can look now at offsuit hands. Here we are looking at all the possible combinations of ace-king offsuit. As you can see, there are 12 different combinations that may be dealt to us. We can also visualize the breakdown of combinations on a range chart. All of the suited hands are in the top right portion of the table. Each square in this section of the chart represents 4 unique combinations. Pocket pairs are along the middle diagonal from the top left to the bottom right. These squares represent 6 unique combos each. Finally, all of the offsuit hands are in the bottom left portion of the table. These squares represent 12 unique combinations of starting hands. Now we know how combinations are categorized, we can start to discuss what the importance of combinations are. Let's first look at range distribution using combinations. We will pretend a player, let's call him Phil. Phil has a 5-bet all-in range of kings plus and all the ace-king hands. Their range looks like this on the range grid. Intuitively, what would you say, as a percentage, how often does Phil have aces in this spot? Pause the video and have a think. A little hint will be to consider the combinations. Well, you may have said something like 1 in 4 times or 25% of the time, thinking that aces is one of the 4 hands in this range. Another answer may have been 1 in 3 times or 33% of the time, thinking ace-king is one possibility, aces and kings are the others. Both these thoughts are incorrect because of combinations. Instead, the actual distributions of hands in Phil's range looks like this. As you can see, the weight of ace-king offsuit skews the range to a higher frequency of them, as opposed to aces and kings. We can see from this table that aces and kings account for 6 combinations each. 6 combinations out of a total of 28 accounts for 21.4%. So Phil will have aces 21.4% of the time. Ace-king suited accounts for 4 combinations. 4 combinations out of the total of 28 equals 14.3% of the time. Ace-king offsuit accounts for 12 combinations. 12 combinations out of 28 total equals 42.9% of the time. This gives us a better look at how range construction must consider how many combinations there are. From here we can look to analyze the range. In basic terms we can now see the Phil will have a pair 42.8% of the time, with 21.4% for aces and 21.4% for kings. This, therefore, means that Phil will have ace-king 57.2% of the time. Obviously this is a very basic analysis for a very tight range. As the range gets wider it becomes a lot more complex. It becomes even worse as the communal cards are dealt, as we will need to consider what cards are good for an opponent's range and what hands start to block certain combinations and unblock others. As a quick note, we need to consider what blockers are and how they affect combinations. We won't go too in-depth on what blockers are as this will be covered in a different video. For a simple example, let's consider pocket pairs. As we have discussed, there are 6 combinations of a specific pocket pair. Let's look at pocket aces from earlier. There are 6 combinations as shown. Now we are dealt the ace of hearts and the 5 of clubs. As we now hold an ace, what happens to the amount of available ace-ace combinations? Pause the video if you need a second. As we can see, there are now only 3 combinations of aces left. This can make a huge difference as to how we play our hand. Blockers can be used in a variety of strategies and are well worth learning about. It is possible to block straights or flushes. Like in this example, as we have the ace of hearts we will block the ace-high flush, which may lead to a profitable bluff on later streets. Unblockers work in the opposite way. If we are dealt our ace of hearts and 5 of clubs again, we unblock other hands such as kings and queens. This essentially means we don't have any effect on the remaining combinations of non-ace and non-5 hands. Now we can cover how combinatorics works in poker and calculate the total number of combos available. This is essentially the calculation for every possible starting hand. The formula to calculate the number of combinations of k objects you can choose from a set of n objects is as follows. The number of combinations is equal to the n factorial divided by the k factorial multiplied by n minus k factorial. Let's look at the workings for the total number of possible combinations in poker. As we know, there are 52 playing cards in the deck. Of these we are dealt 2. This means n equals 52 and k equals 2. From there we can now simplify the equation by expanding the factorial and cancelling the 50 factorial. As 50 factorial divided by 50 factorial equals 1. This leaves us with 52 multiplied by 51 divided by 2 for a total of 1,326 combinations. This means that there are 1,326 unique starting hands that we can be dealt. So, the odds of being dealt the ace of hearts and the ace of spades specifically is 1 in 1,326 or 0.08%. We have determined that there are a total of 1,326 combos. This means that there are 1,326 unique starting hands and no limit hold'em. From this we can determine a few percentages for the likelihood of being dealt certain cards. For any single combination of starting cards it is a 1 in 1,326 chance, or 0.08%. For a specific suited combination we know there are 4 combinations of say ace-king suited. Therefore, there is a 4 in 1,326 chance or a 0.3% chance. For any pocket pair there is a 6 in 1,326 chance or a 0.5% chance. For any offsuit hand there is a 12 in 1,326 chance or 0.9% chance. Let's have a look-see at how we can use combos to calculate or estimate frequencies at the table. Phil, from earlier, now loves to set mine, and to set mine he's decided to only play pocket pairs. What percentage of total hands is he playing, and therefore what frequency will he be dealt a pocket pair? So, we know there are 13 different pocket pairs. For each pocket pair there are 6 combos. This totals 78 combos. So, he is getting dealt a pocket pair 78 out of 1,326 times. 78 divided by 1,326 is 0.06 or 6% of the time. Phil has changed his strategy again and now only plays aces. Any hand with an ace and Phil is happy. We know that there are 12 unpaired hands that contain aces. Ace-king to ace-deuce. We also know there are 16 combos for every unpaired hand, 4 combos for suited, 12 for offsuit. This means there are 12 hands multiplied by 16 combos for a total of 192 unpaired hands. Don't forget about aces as well, which is another 6 combos. This leaves us with a total of 198 combinations for every single starting hand that contains an ace. As before, this means the frequency in which Phil is dealt a hand with an ace is 198 times out of 1326, expressed as a percentage that is approximately 15%. Finally, we can move away from these kind of trivial questions and actually look at how combos are used to be consistent with ranges. The common scenario in poker is during pre-flop. The play is folded to you and you have the option to call, raise, or fold. Here we need to decide what hands are best to raise based on our position. Let's bring back Phil again. Phil has stopped messing around with terrible ranges and has learned that from the cutoff he needs to raise this range of hands. We can use software such as Equalab or Flipzilla to do the calculating for us, but for now let's do it by hand. Starting with the pocket pairs. We can see that Phil opens 11 pocket pairs. 11 times 6 combos is 66. From this chart we can see that Phil opens 35 suited hands. 35 times 4 combos is 140 combos. And finally, we can see that there are 11 offsuit hands in this range. 11 times 12 is 132 combos. This gives us a total of 338 combos in Phil's cutoff raise first in range. 338 divided by 1326 total combos equals 25.4%. This may seem very convoluted and unnecessary, but knowing how combos represent ranges and percentages means we can start to visualize ranges more easily. This is an absolutely crucial skill to learn in poker, especially from the beginning. That's it. A brief overview of what combinatorics is and how it is applied to poker. We've had a look at the basic combinations for pocket pairs, suited and offsuit hands, and how we can use these to calculate frequencies. We have also had a quick look on blockers and unblockers and how combos can help determine the likelihood of an opponent's holding. Finally, we saw how combos can be used to determine ranges and what those ranges may look like. So, there it is, an overview on what combinatorics and combinations are and a few ideas on how to implement them within our game. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video please consider liking and subscribing, and let's practice poker.